Bodies are complicated in my experience, especially female bodies. Let's understand them better together today by looking at some interesting facts about the female orgasm. A few months ago we covered men. Today it's the women's turn. And so we got some interesting information coming out of Durex. The first one is, this has to do with how likely a woman is to have an orgasm depending on what sort of sexual encounter she's in. Is she in a hookup? Is she in a relationship? Let's look at the chart. So there you're seeing first hookup, more hookups, lots of them in a relationship, and you see that steadily that number is going up. Now you see the men are the blue, so they have a higher chance no matter what. Sorry ladies, men just get off easier apparently. But it is interesting that women are way more likely in a relationship than in a hookup to have an orgasm.
I think it totally makes sense because in a relationship you've had more practice to figure out your partner, what she likes, what he likes, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And there's also an emotional component to it too that I think is really important. What really surprised me though is that it increases for men as well. The likelihood of orgasm increases for men. I honestly didn't expect that. I was like, guys come, like they orgasm every time, you know, like that's just what happens.
100% record, goddammit. Yeah.
No, but I mean.
Oh, you're not gonna come, huh?
You know what I mean though.
Mr. Fancy?
You know, I just feel like in general, I'm sorry, but like from personal experience with my hearing things and movies and girlfriends' experiences, whatever, like it just seems like guys can come like this. You know, I didn't expect that their frequency of orgasm would change depending on
But if
the
you
partner.
don't always feel more comfortable because you're not the only one. Yeah.
That's true. That's a great point. Yeah.
Exactly. But one thing that did surprise me about that chart, and one of the reasons I want to focus on it is, yes, it makes total sense, I guess, that in a relationship the person knows you better, you have more experience with each other, you feel more intimate and more close and all that. But people also often think of like sex in a relationship as more boring than a hookup.
Really?
And yet people are getting off. Like only 10% chance in the first hookup that a girl gets off. So why even bother, I think
also when you're like in a relationship, you're more comfortable with experimenting new things. So you can like actually, if anything, I think it gets less boring because you can try that like funky tape or whatever it is you want to tape, or that position or that location. You try more stuff.
I want to know what this tape is now. Is it like kelp tape from Archer?
I mean, they have like, you know, like tape. Like they sell like sex tape, like black tape that like doesn't hurt you at all.
I've heard about this before.
Walk into a store, you'll see them. They're really fucking cool.
Walk into her apartment and you'll see them. I'm joking. I've never heard about this, and I'm a pervert. Like this, I did videos about sex toys. I've never heard of sex tape.
If you use regular tape, it like fucking hurts, right? Like you don't want to put tape on your skin, so you use like sex tape.
I would just argue that I've never thought about using tape in any context
there
in
you
sex,
go.
but apparently I'm boring.
But in a relationship, you know, if you're in a relationship, maybe you can bring that up. You have an open partner or a partner who's open to that stuff.
Okay, I think she's blushing a little bit. Usually it's me that does that. Okay, so that's the depending on what sort of an encounter. Now, what about what happens in the encounter? Let's go to the second chart. So now you're seeing the purple is only oral, and then you get to more and more activity simultaneously when you get to pink. And guys, you'll want to take note of this, or girls, if you're dating a girl. The more different sorts of things you do, especially simultaneously, the more likely a woman is to have an orgasm. Although, again, depending on how often you've been together, the number still goes up.
Totally.
Yeah. Now, when you get to in a relationship and using all those forms of stimulation, including self-stimulation, ladies, bear that in mind, 92% chance that's a pretty good chance. Now, on the other hand, if you go down to just intercourse and in a hookup, that number is really low. And so, guys, do a little bit more than that. Come on. Give her a shot. Give her a chance. But,
I mean, they might not really care if it's just a random casual hookup for one night.
Then they're fuck-ups and they don't deserve to be in the hookup. You should still care.
It's a selfish thing for a lot of people, you know? They just want to get off. They don't care if it's like a one-night stand.
That's the sound of him orgasming?
That's it, like 1, 2, 3, done.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot more interesting random facts. Apparently, women who sleep with women have many more orgasms than heterosexual women, which is interesting. I guess
makes sense. We know our bodies better, so we'll know like we know the female anatomy better.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I feel like it's not that difficult to learn about it online. I don't know. Maybe I have more spare time.
I love how you just
I mean in real life. I mean with humans. Okay, so here's an interesting fact about the difference between men and women. Obviously, we know that women make less money, you know, per hour in the same job and everything. Unfortunately, women also have 1 orgasm for every 3 that men have. Wow. Bear in mind, that does not mean 1 for every 3 that men have in sex. I think that men in their extracurricular activities are getting ahead of you. They might lap you, in fact.
I don't know. I think they meant specifically during sex.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it doesn't say that here, but perhaps.
I don't know. That's a great question because then that would change things a bit.
Maybe. And overall, you saw the chart of from the first hookup to overall, but just bear this in mind. Women in relationships have 7 times as many orgasms as women who are regularly hooking up. And so hooking up can be fun and exciting and dangerous and risky and all those good things that you want, which is why you downloaded Tinder in the first place. But in a relationship, you're more likely to have more orgasms, which I think is interesting. Let's see, there were a couple of things I want to talk about. Oh, they talked about some of the things that make women less likely to orgasm. Bear in mind, they say, and you found this to be surprising, that relaxation, according to brain scans, is the most important thing for women orgasming.
Yeah, I totally thought it'd be something related to clitoral stimulation or how long you've known your partner or emotional attachment, stuff like that. That one should be just relaxed was surprising. That was the #1 thing.
Yeah, and as I was saying, you got to bear in mind that while we get to the orgasm through the adventures of our loins, it takes place in the brain. And so if that's not stimulated, it doesn't matter what you're doing, or if you have a tongue as rough as a young kitten's. It's not going to get the job done if she's not relaxed. And so one of the things that can mess up the process of her being relaxed and having an orgasm is turning her off. Some of the things that turn her off are poor hygiene and a messy environment. 2 of the biggest turnoffs.
But, I mean, come on, sometimes it gets messy. So I don't know about the messy. Maybe if it's
dirty.
Getting
messy together can be part of the fun. But if you're lying on dirty underwear.
Oh, no, gross.
I
not
personally
happening.
think that's kind of hot. But anyway.
Do it standing up.
Exactly, yeah. Standing up on the balcony. And also, one final fact that I think is incredibly interesting. I don't know why scientists did these studies, but they did studies of women's pain thresholds while being sexually stimulated. When pressure is applied to the G-spot, their pain threshold shoots up 47%. Which is crazy. Yeah. If it's also sexually pleasurable, not just the pressure, but it actually feels good, 84%.
Talk about orgasm.
And while orgasming,
100 and something
104% higher pain threshold. Literally, you can cut her head off and she'll smile through the entire thing. I saw a video.
I mean, this is why people, that's why you have to like scratches and bruises after sex sometimes, and you're like, oh my gosh, where did those come from?
And you didn't even feel it.
No.
Because it felt good.
But here's the final fact that I was really struck by was the 20-minute fact that like it takes on average women 20 minutes to orgasm. When you combine it with the fact that like on average men go for like 2 to 7 minutes, that is fucked up. And I think that it really is.
Fucked up. Well, maybe if the girl just started 12 minutes before we got in the room.
Well, here's the thing. It makes sense though when you look at the like. When you
Babe, I'll be over soon. Get started.
Yeah, that helps, right? So maybe you can self-stimulate or whatever. But the chart with the, more likely to orgasm if you have different activities like oral sex or self-stimulation, I think that's where it comes in. Like if you are doing more of those things, then and the guy's only lasting like 7 minutes inside you, then maybe you can offset those 7 minutes with 13 of extracurricular stuff.
I think it'd be awesome if it didn't reset every time. It's like, okay, last weekend we got up to 15 minutes. I think I'm going to put us over the top today, baby. But anyway, those are very interesting facts. What I like about this is that you think about sex as this thing that you're just supposed to learn about in your everyday life, but there's actually lots of scientific research being done. I don't know how they get funding for it because it seems like they're just perverts who are messing around in a lab, but I'm glad that they're doing it because it makes for fun discussions. Anyway, we'll have more interesting sex facts knowledge and all that sort of stuff on the next episode of Pumpology 101. We'll see you next week.